So,
Welcome to Life Stuff, everybody. Live on location this time. Eddie's traveling, but today's episode was is really important, and Eddie needed to be a part of it, so we had to make it happen. And so, airport or no airport, he did it.
what? Who are we talking to, and what's kind of what's this episode about?
We are talking to the cast, the three leads of a new TV show called Sugar Highs. Season one is already available. Season two just dropped last week, and April 10th. There's a link in the description if you guys want to watch it. And we're going to talk to the three leads about this show. It's all about sugar daddies and sugar babies. And if you don't know what those are, well, you're about to find out during this interview.
Yeah, and it's we're excited to talk to these guys. And Justin and I, we both watched a number of the episodes, and it's a good show. It's very
It
interesting,
is.
and so let's hear what the guys have to say.
Let's bring them in. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Justin.
I'm Eddie.
This is Eddie. We run the
Nice
Queer
to meet you.
Network on YouTube, and we got to know Amy, who set this up for us when we were doing stuff with Canada's Drag Race. And she reached out and asked if we wanted to do a little interview with you guys, which we do. We don't really do what we used to do on the Queer Network, but Eddie and I have a podcast called Life Stuff, and it's just very chill. Like there's nothing predetermined about it. We're just gonna have a chat about the show, about you guys, about your opinion of the subject matter of the show. We obviously like plug the show as much as you want to, but this just certainly doesn't have to be your average press conference about sugar highs. We're more interested personally in just like the subject matter that it is, being from the queer community ourselves, knowing that we've lived some of those experiences that you highlighted in the show, and to get some of your like personal insight on that would be what we're after or interested in. And you can share as little or as much as you want to. Like there's no, don't feel like you have to go into all the details of your personal life, but don't feel like you can't if you want to, because this is life stuff. Let's just go around and introduce ourselves and the character that you guys play in the show so people know.
Well, my name's Beni, and I play Tab on the show.
I'm Sam and I play Mickey.
I'm Adam Fox and I play Bud.
This is the cast of Sugar Highs. Season two is coming out today.
Today,
Like
yeah.
literally
Oh,
April
yeah.
10th was the day I remember hearing. Season one has been out for a while already. Can you guys give a little recap of season one and what people can expect from season two?
I would say season one establishes our dynamic as roommates, as well as establishes a lot of the daddies from season one, as well as non-daddy lovers of all genders, um, and kind of sees some trouble that we get into. And it actually, season one does leave off with a little bit of resolution, but basically season two starts off in sort of a crumbled place.
Mm-hmm. With lots of room to grow.
Yes, we could all use some growth.
I first want to start with just a little bit about how you guys even got involved in this project and like what your initial reaction to the script was. Good, bad, scared, excited, and then like you filmed season one. Did you expect a season two? What was a little bit, and you don't have to go into all the details, but some of the details of the journey to getting to season two and how you guys have been feeling along the way. Because this show is about sugar daddies, and this is not a subject that has been really tackled a lot. It may be on a one episode of something they like allude to it, but you guys really take it to another level and use comedy to do so in a way that is it's lighthearted, but there's also some really big truths in the show as well. And so I'm curious how you guys have felt being the ones that are the faces of this.
Um, so what was the question?
So take us back. Take us
Mhm.
back to when you first got involved in the project, and what were your initial thoughts about even being a part of a show that was like going to have your face on something about sugar daddies and this whole idea?
Yeah, well, So, well, the way I got the part is Tom was during COVID, he was working on another project that he was casting, which was going to be basically, very minimal crew. It was going to be shot mostly through computers, and because it was all during lockdown. So I auditioned for two parts of that, or two roles in that. One of them ended up going, Sam booked it. And so he called me and he was like, "Hey, you did a really good job. The only thing is the border's not open." And maybe they'd make an exception if you're like Tom Cruise or something, but you're not. So he's
Right.
like, "I'm gonna go through production, and if eventually the border opens, we'll see what happens." Anyways, that didn't happen, so I ended up just doing something over Zoom and turned it into a FaceTime call. And then from that, he asked me to audition for Sugar Highs, which my understanding, I don't know about you guys, I kind of went into it thinking, oh, it's just going to be like a little mini series, just like a 6 episode mini series. Um, so it was really fun. I remember reading the scripts and laughing out loud and being like, "Hey, this is really funny." Um, yeah, and then became a part of it, and then filming season one, it was great. And then, uh, yeah, they're like, "Okay, so we're doing a season two." I was like, "Wait, I thought there's a mini series." Great. Okay, so yeah, it's been great, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
And similar to your character, it sounds like you've just like taken this by the balls and enjoyed every second
Yeah.
of it. Like it didn't scare you at all. It doesn't seem like, in terms of being a
No, and
subject
like you
matter that,
said, everyone knows about sugar daddies, but you're really not seeing, like, yeah, it may be a storyline in a different show that one character has,
yeah,
or an episode of something, and so a whole show dedicated to it. And it's not like, glitz and glamour. It's like literally if, someone named Chris in the middle of North America was like, "I think I'm going to try out an app." It's like,
yeah,
three normal guys trying to figure it out. So it's pretty relatable, I think.
totally. Adam, what was your initial response to this whole experience, season one, filming this topic?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've always found this subject matter intriguing. Um, and yeah, so when I saw, and I don't know, there's a lot of statistics for which universities have the most sugar babies, but I went to NYU. NYU has the most, I think, according to statistics. Um, and so it wasn't unfamiliar to me, and I was pretty excited by the subject matter. And I think sometimes we get like so many auditions, and you're often throwing spaghetti at the wall. But I did have a gut instinct that uh, I would be the best person for this character. And I think often it's a matter of really, you might be the best person for the role, but will your work get seen by the right set of eyes so that that actually comes to fruition? And thankfully, because Tom is very hands-on, he actually cast it himself rather than using a casting director. I think that's part of how that happened so quickly.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, getting to work on it was pretty awesome. Again, I'm pretty comfortable with the subject matter, if I'm being honest. It doesn't throw me off, and I find it fun, interesting, and enjoyable. And
mm-hmm.
then I guess with season two, again, like as actors, we're always like auditioning. So it was kind of wild for the first time to just like get a whole set of work without having to do anything. I was like, is this fair? Like, do I get to just do this? Don't I have to do
Well,
something first?
you did a lot, actually. You did a phenomenal job in season one. So this
Oh,
is
thank you.
this is y'all
The
all
payoff.
deserve a season two, which you're absolutely right. As an actor, that's the dream, to have more time with these characters.
Well, it makes you feel like you're further along in your career than you are if you don't have to. If you're just like, oh, I get to just work without doing anything.
Yeah. Being an actor
Yeah.
is not just auditioning, which is what it feels like sometimes.
It does
Yeah,
feel like that.
it's
Yes.
like you're doing a job to not get paid.
Yeah. Sam, what was your take on this whole subject matter, getting the role and then actually filming season one and now season two?
I worked with Tom on Camboy, and then he sent me the audition for Sugar Highs. And initially, when I read it, I thought it was like sort of like what Joey said, like a mini series, maybe like a fly on the wall, like realist, like thing about people using apps. And once I got to read the script a little more and got the part and realized it is like also a little bit of like a situational comedy, I got to like have some fun like adjusting to that and taking like a different approach in that way. And yeah, so for season 1 and season 2, it's definitely been about sort of like doing that character work to figure out what's better for comedy while also like keeping maybe like a little bit of that realist approach as well. And yeah, that's kind of something I've had fun with.
Is it just a fun show, or is there supposed to be like a message or something? What is the show saying, or what are you trying to say about sugar daddies, or
I truly did think this was an opportunity to really talk about what this show is going to make actually people feel, other than just laugh at it. They're also going to be slightly uncomfortable. How do we talk about this? Because within the queer community, these are the conversations that are going to be had about a show like this. And I think it's important that it's being done, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be uncomfortable at times for people. So it's not just a comedy. There's a subject being discussed that's like been really taboo in some places for a really long time, and I think we're trying to lighten it up a little bit. But I do want to reiterate the question that Eddie asked: what is the message you guys think the show brings to the screen?
I think
Whoever wants to go first.
I think the message would be more. I keep saying this saying, pulling the curtain back on a subculture. And I think everyone is familiar that those kind of relationships exist. You hear about them in, songs or just like pop culture or whatever. Anna Nicole Smith and her dying 150-year-old husband who's a billionaire. But I think what it also does is it just humanizes people in that relationship. It's not just hey, I'm older and have done well for myself, and I want to like shower someone with gifts. It goes into like loneliness and feeling like, you know, maybe you come out at a later age, and then you're starting over at 50 to try, but you hid that part of yourself during your childhood, so you kind of want like a younger companion, but you'll take care of them or whatever. And then on the other end, just showing how like for younger people, it's hard out there. Things are expensive, and like I know for me, my parents' house when they got married was it was a normal house in Southern California, I think just under $100,000, and now it goes for 1.2 million for a starter home.
Yeah.
So
how are we buying homes if we're not like
We're
rich
renting
rich actors that have lots of money?
Stealing them.
Yes.
Plotting.
On a nice
One
box
sugar
on the
daddy
side
at a
of the
time.
road.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I think. I think the message is more showing the humanizing people and why they go that route.
Anybody else have something to add to that?
Yeah, I would say, like, to Joey's point about humanizing them, like, I think that the idea of a sugar baby and a sugar daddy are almost more like stock characters or like an image that you have. Like, again, I said it the other day, like, a sugar baby is probably like in a Speedo or a bikini on a beach or on a yacht, drinking a cocktail, and there's a man fawning over them with a lot of money. And that's sort of the stereotype. But it's like, what I like about the show is that on both ends, it's like, you know, it's not really very glamorous. Like, we are getting money in exchange for something. But we need that money. We're literally like always like on the brink of not being able to pay rent. And then the men are, being honest, like the sugar daddies are being honest about what they really want, and that they want more than just sex, or they want more than a transactional relationship a lot of the time. And sometimes they do want it. And I think it explores a lot of the different dynamics and it also explores some positive outcomes, particularly in season one and some in season two. And I think that like one thing that's come up in discussing the show is that like it's the whole idea of like the older, younger, and the richer and poorer thing. It feels new in a way, but it's actually really not. Like this kind of dynamic has been around forever, like with advantageous marriages, arranged marriages. And I think it's also a little bit of a cultural difference. Like in North America, there's very much this attitude of you'll hear people be like, oh, well, I'll never pay for it until I absolutely have to. Whereas in other parts of the world, there's a lot of culture of gift giving. And for example, like when I was younger, I did modeling overseas in Asia. And there would be a lot of kind of wealthy older men that would offer to buy Chanel bags or whatever it was for these young female models. And the North American girls would be like, oh gosh, I would never accept that. Whereas like the Brazilian girls or Eastern European girls would be like, hell yeah, I'll take that Chanel bag. Why wouldn't I? So it's sort of just like there's different attitudes when it comes to accepting gifts, offering gifts, and it's a little bit, I think, cultural. So I think with North America specifically, and that's where the show takes place, it can have a bit more of a jarring reaction given some of our relationships to all that.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sam, anything to add?
Yeah, well, Adam briefly mentioned that it does show like a fun side of that subculture. I'm not super familiar with the subculture, but I've definitely learned a little bit. I think there's definitely some cautionary tales in the show as well in terms of like interpersonal conflicts. I do think like maybe in the show's future it'd be cool to see like some cautionary tales on the side of like what could go wrong in terms of like the internet and staying safe and stuff like that. But I also think it's important and really kind of cool that they show it from like a fun and healthy perspective as well. Or but like obviously not though, like there's definitely like interpersonal conflicts and things that definitely go wrong. But I like to see like sort of both sides, like how these can be very fulfilling and complicated, but ultimately fulfilling relationships. But also like it's the internet. Bad things can occur.
What I get from it and what I got from it is that both sides get what they want. Right. And so it's this interaction, it's this relationship that works because you guys need to make money. And that's you really hone in on that. So this is a way to make money. And I think you know, Adam, what you said is that it's like that kind of thing maybe hasn't been accepted or it's not accepted as much or hasn't been. But I think it's like a transaction that works and you both get what you want. The problem is, and what I liked about the one episode, and I can't remember who it was, but the guy who fell in love, right? And then it was over because
Yes,
that's not what it's about. It wasn't, you know, for you guys. And that became a problem because he fell in love. So as long as you can keep it more like this transaction where you're both getting what you want, then it works, you know. But there's this little thing called love and feelings that can get in the way, you know. So that's I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, the show speaks to how our relationships in the queer community, and it isn't just the queer community, but certainly the subject is about gay men and the queer community, how our relationships are evolving, what we want from each other, what we don't necessarily need in a partnership or what we want in a partnership. And that's different for everyone because I'm sure certain sugar daddy situations turn into full-on love affairs and then they're together for the rest of their lives. And then there are others that, you know, as Sam was alluding, get pretty nasty probably. Like it's not a cute ending and it's maybe a little dangerous at times. Like we can't shy away from the reality of that. But I love that the show also highlights the fun-hearted, because I've had some of those interactions too. So but back to the question, is there anything you guys want to explore more in the show? Do you see there are opportunities for these characters to deepen?
Well, I think Tab has in season one and season two not had a job, and he is also not the sharpest tool in the shed, but also things just tend to like be a lot of happy accidents, and he goes through life thinking like everything in life is easy. But I think it would be funny to see him be forced to get a job, and how he's like, I don't know how to do that, and just like in his own tab way, fall on his face, or turn it into working out in his favor. But that'd be fun.
Hmm. Anyone else?
I think that, well, one unique thing about this show is that although it is about a specific topic, it's pretty character driven. So like there's a lot of there's ways you could go in terms of subject matter for a third season, but there's also ways you could go character wise. So like my character, for example, is like mission statement for why he wants to do this in season one, is that he wants somebody to basically he just wants somebody to use him sexually and then fund his musical. That's what he says. And that has yet to come to fruition. So I think that would be quite like a comedic
Oh, we need a
route.
musical episode. We need
Yeah,
a
I mean,
musical episode.
I would love to do that. And I did mention that to Tom. He thought it was funny. So that's one direction. I do think, to Sam's point, it would be good. I mean, I think there's some moments of danger, like at the very beginning, there's a scene before I meet a sugar daddy for the first time. I call my mom first. And I think I
Right.
interpreted that as like, once I open this door, I could potentially die. Because, a lot of the times, like with this phenomenon, if the sugar daddy is very discreet or like unwilling to reveal a photo of themselves before meeting, that means that you could be showing up at a hotel room having no idea who this person is. Um, yeah, and I think, yeah, I mean, it could be a little bit of a harder one to address in a funny way. And I think, given the tone of the show, I don't think we would want it to be so grim that it's not something we could like come back from. But I do think it could be good, like Sam said, to just find a way to go a little further down that, or something else could happen. Like it could get in, like there could be some sort of like sex shaming. So like somebody
Yeah.
could have like one of us could get like a good corporate job and then find out that we did this and then lose the job.
Yeah.
Something in that realm could be a good way to address it.
Yeah. I
Or
feel like
even
this. Yeah, go ahead.
just how you said that, Adam, like someone blackmailing one of us because like, oh, we
Yes,
found and then it's like, not only are you
that
having
would
make money to like pay your bills, now it's like, I got to pick on an extra daddy because I got to pay off my blackmail person.
find a lawyer. Well, and then that would address like twofold, because it would address a worst case scenario, and then also Sam kind of alluded to like online exploitation and stuff,
Yeah.
which is an important topic.
It's nice to see a show tackle some of these real things, like you said, the humanity behind these people, these stereotypes that have existed around a sugar daddy or a sugar baby. Yeah.
How do you want people to feel or think or from watching this?
Sam, you go first.
Sam, you're on mute.
She's
Sam, you're
unmuted.
Yeah, I was just saying that's a good question. It's not something I've like thought of too much. I think it is a comedy, so I hope people laugh. In terms of the subject matter, I hope people learn something. I've learned things from doing this show, in a variety of ways. But yeah, it's a fun show, and I hope people connect with the characters. I guess that's all I can hope for, coming from a place of like not really having much knowledge in that field. I just, yeah, that's the best I can wish for. I hope people connect with it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Adam,
think,
what about
I
you?
would
oh,
I
go
would
ahead.
say, we live in especially as you can all. Well, you said you're an actor, Justin. I don't know if
Yes.
Eddie, are you also an actor? No. I guess, I mean, in the acting world, we all hear so much like likable, be likable, blah, 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 blah. And I think all of our characters are likable, but we are also kind of living out loud and are definitely flawed and making a lot of mistakes, which is, I think, refreshing to see sometimes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not not having the goal of making this person just like perfect or the perfect version of whatever it is. And I think that for me, like a lot of the feedback I've gotten from people that have watched it was that it reminded a lot for people that were even as old as, even as young as or as old as 30 and plus. It reminded them of like the mistakes they made in their 20s and situations that they found themselves in. And I think it can give a little bit of like a heart, it can even be a little bit heartwarming at times in that regard. And I think that in a way, like a lot of people might feel seen, like we've talked about loneliness. And I think like Joey mentioned, the phenomenon of coming out later in life, like that's a very real thing. And what do you do when you come out later in life and you want that companionship? And it isn't necessarily this, but you just see examples of people who want that companionship later in life. And then of course you see the reality of like being very young and finding yourselves in San Francisco with two roommates that we're all pretty different, but we're also each other's family. And I think that's another aspect of it too. So I think it just, as Joey said, humanizes and kind of gives a lens into some different types of people.
Last word to you, Joey.
Well, like they both said, I hope people laugh and think it's funny. But I also think that maybe after seeing that and like taking a peek behind the curtains, like, oh, so that's that's why people kind of get into that or do that. That if in their real life, maybe like their brother or sister or their aunt or uncle or someone that they know or maybe an acquaintance, they find out that like, oh, they're doing something like that, to maybe be more understanding of like what their life situation was looking like, to where they leaned into that as an option instead of being like, shame.
Taking away the stigma. There's
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah.
just, I feel like what we're constantly always trying to do is just reveal what's really behind something, rather than this usual illusion of a stigma that is like unnecessary. The reasons that somebody wants to do the things they do are their own, and they're complex and they're layered, and there's always many of those reasons. And I think, yeah, the show highlights in a really cool way. There's so many characters. You guys are the core, but I love how many people come in and out of every single episode, and even return like a little bit here and there. And yeah, it's beautiful.
That's one thing I would add to your point, is just that there are, in terms of having the reactions to this phenomenon, is you have a lot of people that are interacting with, dealing with us being sugar babies. So, there might be somebody that has a crush on Sam, but she's not okay with Mickey, some of his decisions. Same for me, same for Tab. So I think family members, et cetera, you would see. So yeah.
Absolutely.
And we talk a lot on this show on life stuff about acceptance and about judgment. And I think what I take from this is that the lessons are that to not have any judgment, to not have judgment on the sugar babies and the sugar daddies. Like, this is what they do and it works for them, and that's great. And I think it's a little bit about life. Like, I think our world, there's more and more acceptance in our world, and it's changing. I mean, it's changed so much since I came out, which was a long time ago. And I think I love that direction. And I think that's what this show also shows, is that like, if it works for you, great.
Exactly.
So
we really appreciate you guys doing this. Thank you so much. Congratulations on season 2. Everybody, if you haven't already, go check it out. We'll put a link in the description for you guys to find the show. Congrats. Good luck as you do all this press, as you hopefully get a season 3. Y'all can come back anytime if you have more things to say. We do live stuff all the time. So yeah, don't be shy.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.